Okay, hi brothers and sisters, back for a quick video. Just getting over a cold here, so excuse my voice. We're going to take a look at maybe 3 or 4 different little things right quick here. But we're going to look at Jeremiah chapter 51. We're going to begin in verse 15. And then we're going to link this to another passage, and we're going to prove some things by the language if we actually want to connect and study the Bible as opposed to just reading the New Testament, which was written by the Greeks, as we've come to realize, as a continual build on that statue of your image of male God. Because when you study the Old Testament and the truth that flows in there like a living water, it is identified that the living water did come from your anointed one, your holy one, which was the daughter of Israel herself, not a man. So the building up of a man in the New Testament as your Lord and God was just a continuation of that male statue in Daniel 2. So we'll begin in verse 15 of Jeremiah 51. And it says, "She has made the earth by her powers. She has established the world by her wisdom, and has stretched out the heavens by her understanding. And when she uttereth her voice, there is a multitude of waters in the heavens." That's right. We hear water, water all through the Bible, and we know that they come from her. They do not flow from no man, they flow from her. But by extension, if he truly receives those waters, then they flow from him as well. But they absolutely are hers. And we see this in Ezekiel 19 when we take a look in that and study at that. We also know that the spouse supposedly called a spouse, which I'm questioning strongly, knowing the things that I know now, that the covenant was not about a husband and wife in the conventional sense as we know it. God says you are not to be found bowing to your husband Baal. Hosea 2, she says, "I will remove the name of Baal off of your tongue. He's not your Lord and Master. He never was. Nor are you to bow to your husband as if he's Lord and Master." So again, I'm going to go in through this here. But one of the things I wanted to discuss was in Psalm 45 where it says, the bride is brought to her husband, and it says, you will bow to him, call him king, and call him Lord, and you will worship him. You are never to worship your husband, ever. And that is a complete lie in Psalm 45 when the birthright holder, who is shown dressed in multi-stones, right? A variegated robe. And it's multi-stoned is what it is when you go in and look it up. And that takes you right back to Joseph's blessings when his daddy made him a coat of many colors after daddy stole that from the presence of God on the earth, which is the angel that he actually is found wrestling with. And he steals her birthright. But he may have stolen it, but she hands it over to him and she says, "But I'm going to hamstring you, Jacob." And we come to realize that that was a symbol of that he was really her enemy. Anyway, but in Psalm 45, what it truly is a picture of is her being brought to the Ancient of Days, her mother. And they just changed it all around to a king. That's all. But she's brought into her mother's house in Daniel chapter 7 to the Ancient of Days. And she is brought with her witnesses, which in Daniel 7 is called a cloud. You look cloud up in the New Testament, it means witnesses. And here in Psalm 45, they are her virgins. Now, virgins means they're holding no guile in their mouth of a lie in bowing to husband as if he's Lord and God. So this is all just lies. And when you get understanding what was taking place and how they were tearing God, the presence of God here on earth, down and building up their idol of a man as Lord and God, then we begin to realize that Psalm 45 is really a picture, excuse me, of Daniel 7, and not of her being brought to her husband that she must worship, because that's what it's showing you. All right? And that's a lie in land. So here we go back. I'm sorry, Jeremiah 51, I got off track. Let's start again. "So she has established the world by her wisdom, and she has stretched out to heaven by her understanding. When she uttereth her voice, there is a multitude of waters in the heaven. She causes the vapors to ascend from the ends of the earth. She maketh lightnings with rain, and she bringeth forth a wind out of her treasures." We've proven they're her treasures. Verse 17, every man is brutish by his knowledge. Yeah, he's violent. He's a brute. That's the brute system, the beast system we're talking about. By his knowledge, because he thinks he's the epitome of God on earth. He does. Every founder is confounded by graven images. For his molten image is a falsehood, and there is no breath in them, and there is not. The image and idol of Jesus is just that. It is an idol built up by men, causing women to have to bow at the feet of their husband, which does what? Empowers him on earth, doesn't it? And you know what it does to you? It debases you. It causes you to be looked upon in a way that God never intended, ever. So verse 18, they are vanity, the work of errors, and in the time of their visitation, they shall all perish. And they're gonna. The portion of Israel, this is the verse we want to look at. The portion of Israel is not like them, for she is the former of all things. Now they got Jacob, but Jacob stole her name. Her name is Israel, the daughter, and she was known as the presence of God here on earth. She is the former of all things, and Israel is the rod of her inheritance, and the Lord of hosts is her name. So, how do we verify that indeed it is female that is her rod and her inheritance? She don't belong to men. She's not inherited by a male god. That again comes from Baal wanting to be God. We've studied the Old Testament and we found the little book sealed up. That's right. Which proves the mystery revealed is that she was the Lord on earth. So thou art my battle axe. Sorry, I should have brought a cup of water. And weapons of war. For with thee will I break in pieces the nations, and with thee will I destroy kingdoms. And with thee will I break in pieces the horses and his riders. And with thee will I break in pieces the chariot and rider. With thee also will I break in pieces man, woman, with the young. And will I break in pieces the young man and the maiden. And I will also break in pieces with thee the shepherd and his flock. And with thee will I break in pieces the husbandman and his yoke of oxen. And with thee will I break in pieces captains and rulers. So we're getting all the masculine here because they're what rules in the earth. They think they're God in the earth. They think that whatever they say goes, right? So when we backtrack, and I am losing my voice quick here, to verse 19, we can prove who the portion is, okay? So verse 19, excuse me, Jeremiah 51 verse 19, the portion of Israel is not like them, for she is the former of all things, and Israel is the rod of her inheritance. The Lord of hosts is her name. Now, where do we go to prove who this inheritance is? Well, we go to Job 31. We've looked at this, so this isn't no surprise to anybody who's actually seen my videos. Job 31, this is what it says. Sorry, it's dark in here so I can't see what I'm doing. If I put on any more light, I mean, I'm bleached anyway, but it bleaches it even more. So Job 31, what does it say about an inheritance? Verse 1, I made a covenant with mine eyes. Why then should I think upon a maid? For what portion of God is there from above? And what's the word? Inheritance of the Almighty from on high. Who's that? Women. Job just said, I made a covenant with mine eyes. Why then should I think upon a maid? For what portion of God is there from above? He's talking about his wife. And to be a wife don't mean to be in hubby's bed. We've proven that. That's the covenant of lies in the earth. She had her own house. It was called the house in the forest of Lebanon. And he was to adhere to her commandments and her statutes. You see, David going, oh, that I might dwell in the house of the Lord and gaze upon her beauty. It says his beauty, but it's her beauty. And you find that in Psalm 119, I think, and a few other passages where he says that I might gaze upon her beauty. He wasn't in love with a man. He was in love with the spirit of his covenant. That's who David is identifying when he says that I might gaze upon her beauty. So the portion of Israel is not like them. For she is the former of all things. That's right. She's the principal. She's the first fruit. She is the chief of the kingdom. That's what Proverbs tells us. It says wisdom is the principal. Yeah, and when you look that up, first fruits, but it also means the chief of the kingdom. So, and of her inheritance, and the Lord of hosts is her name. They want to say she's possessed by a male god. She's inherited by a male god. No, she's not. She's inherited by her mother. Mother wisdom from above. That's why you can link Psalm 45 to Daniel chapter 7 in the Ancient of Days. And she and her virgins holding no guile, bound to a man as if he's Lord and God in the earth. Because that's a lie from Baal. And if you want to watch my videos, you might be able to piece it together for yourself. We saw King Solomon building up the system of harlotry by denying the key of David, which was the righteous daughter of Israel, and her statutes and commandments, and he turned it on. And he turned on them. That's what he did. And so God says, because of what you have done, I'll rent the kingdom from you, out of your hands. But because of what David did, I'll allow one to stay in your name for his sake. Not because of your sake, Solomon, but because of his sake. So one tribe stays there. And then what does God do? God says to Jeroboam, if you follow my statutes and my commands, I will give the kingdom to you. And what does he do? He brings in 2 idols. He sets one up in Dan, I believe, and he sets the other one up in Ephraim, and it's the golden idol of a calf. So then she rents the kingdom away from him. She says, fine, you won't follow my commandments and my statutes. I'll tear them away from you too. And she does. But nobody wants to study those elements, right? They all want to believe male is God, especially the harlot spirit in the land that has never been taught any different. And it's funny because I've been watching a show and I really am enjoying it despite all the male bashing on the female characters. Episode 4, oh, I forget the bad guy. But when he has that conversation with the elf that has been captured, and Sauron, they call him Adar. That's what they call him. That's what the demons there, which is just really bad men willing to do anything, perform any type of violence. I think is kind of the allegory in that you see. But Adar, their father, says many things to the elf that's been captured. Go in and watch it if you're able and pay very careful attention to what he says. He says so many lies have been told for so long that even the rocks of the earth believe them. And isn't that so accurate when you get in and studying the Word of God? But nobody wants to study it, especially the Old Testament. They think all they got to do is read the New Testament. Well, the New Testament was just a continuation on what they were building of that statue. And then we see the rock cut out without hands, which then we just see who that rock is, identified in Jeremiah 51. Here, let's read it again. The portion of Israel is not like them, for she is the former of all things. That's right. She is the chief of the kingdom. She's the presence of her mother on earth, who is the one holding the rod in her hand. But you got it that it's a man doing it all, right? So many lies have been told for so long, right? So Israel is the rod of her inheritance, and the Lord of hosts is her name. She's our mother. And if you think Father creates the body, forget that one. She says, you forgot to fear me. I wrote this down. Let's look at this too right quick before I go. That's found in, let's see if I can pull it up here. This is Isaiah 57. Let's go there and look at that right quick. Okay. Doesn't help that I can't see, sorry. So Isaiah 57. What does it say? Discuss this right quick. And of whom hast thou been afraid or feared that thou hast lied, and hast not remembered me, nor laid it to thy heart? Have not I held my peace even of old, and thou fearest me not? Who? Who? Mother. You forgot her. And you forgot the reason, real big reason, why you ought to fear mother. And it says also in the New Testament, you are without excuse not to understand the Godhead. Manifested it in what I created for your eyes to bear witness to. Woman forms the clay in her womb. She forms the body in her womb. And she travails to give it life. That's what she does. And she says, now, in the resurrection, who gives you a new body, you think? Right, Father does he? Oh, no, he doesn't. You told the potter that she had no power over the clay. And you forgot to fear me. Except you forget, I'm the one that determines who gets a new body in the resurrection. Not man, not Father, not Son, but me, Mother, who forms and shapes the new body in my womb. That's right. And you said to yourself, I never have to fear her. Never. Right? And you didn't lay it to your heart to fear her because you remained silent. Now, they believe we're going to burn when we die. That's a Greek concept that comes from the word Hades, a burning hell. And it did originate in the Greek. Sheol never had the idea of a burning. You know what I believe, personally, Sheol has? It has the idea of formless and bodiless and nameless. That's why it says, you will be cast out into outer darkness. She says, that's why you should fear me. Because you forgot I'm the one that gives the body to whom I choose. And if you want to follow a violent system, then I'm going to cut you away, and you're going to be formless, and you're going to be nameless. That's right. And I'm going to cast you into utter darkness, because I determine who gets resurrected and who don't. So, you can say I'm wrong. If you don't want to go do your study, you don't want to piece it together, you don't want to find the actual little book of truth sealed up in this great, big, thick book of lies and false prophets. We've proven they were false prophets who prophesied through Baal. And then they prophesy and wait for the fulfilling of their own prophecies that they made up. That's what it says. We've looked at this multiple times in our videos, and so I'm not looking at it anymore. They're there over and over again. But she says, these daughters, who's her inheritance, are the ones she's going to use. And that's right. Jeremiah 51 again. What does she say? We'll finish with this. Thou art my battle axe and weapons of war. For with thee will I break in pieces the nations, and with thee will I destroy the kingdoms. That's a picture of Daniel 2, verse 34 and 35. Go look them up if you dare. Smashing the toes on the false image of a male statue as your Lord and your God, also known as the Antichrist system, which we've been living in. Yep. So, and with thee will I break in pieces, yep, the kingdoms. That's right. She says, I'm going to beat them small, and I'm going to blow them away in the wind, the wicked, who bowed to an idol, because I will determine whether I form a new body for you. Not him. Oh, but keep telling yourself, I'm nothing to fear. Keep telling yourself that. So there we go. Thanks for watching. Hope y'all have a really nice day, rest of your day. And I pray the Lord blesses you with an abundance of truth. And thanks again.